Just 61 years ago, this day, history was made in this building when 4 men from North Carolina A&T would dare to walk from the campus of North Carolina A&T and sit down at the whites-only lunch counter. Those 4 young students had studied the U.S. Constitution, and they fully understood the power of the 14th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, which guaranteed them full and equal protection under the law. Since 1868, when it was ratified by the states, these men, as well as every other African American, had full and equal protection under the law. This iconic photograph that hangs in this lobby of the International Civil Rights Center and Museum is a testament to the power of change. When we persist nonviolently and assert our rights as citizens in this society. These 4 young men, David Richmond, Frank McCain, Ezell Blair, and Joe McNeil, they made this community and the world a better place to live. For they raised the boats of the African American community, and that also raised the boats of the white community here in Greensboro and around the globe. This morning, as we welcome the African American chiefs of police and the sheriffs from across the state of North Carolina in the 6 largest districts, we are proud to make African American history once again right here in this building. I got a feeling that we're going to talk about this day and this image for years to come. Thank you for being here. Now, to welcome you to the International Civil Rights Center and Museum, I'm going to ask Mr. Errol Jones, our Vice President of the Board of Directors, and also a co-founder of this institution, one of the men who had the foresight to step in with Skip Alston and save this building and turn it into a place of social conscience for people to come from all over the globe and visit. I got a feeling that we're going to see more of your cadets and sheriffs. We've worked with the Greensboro Police Department for a couple of years now. We've started our work with High Point Police Department. We've started our work with Forsyth County, and we're going to extend those opportunities virtually or on site to each of you. Mr. Jones, if you'll come forward.
Thank you, John. First of all, I want to thank you all for coming to the Civil Rights Museum on this historic occasion, this historic day. 61 years ago, when 61 years ago, as John had indicated, 4 young men from North Carolina A&T State University sat down against Jim Crow segregation so America could stand up. So I want to welcome you all on behalf of the Board of Directors of the International Civil Rights Center and Museum. I also want to acknowledge our Police Chief, Brian James, and also Danny Rogers, who are right here in Gifted County. And we have our Mayor, Nancy Vaughan. I'll bring her up shortly. Let me just say this. Law enforcement is one of the most important elements of American society to maintain order and to maintain safety, and the most respected aspect of our society. It dates back, actually, sheriffs and law enforcement dates back to the time of England prior to the pre-colonial founding of America. They were next to the king, the top law enforcement people. It was the king and then the sheriffs. And so there's a long history of law enforcement. And then when America was founded, the founding fathers wanted the sheriffs and law to be elected by the people. And so throughout the state, of course in North Carolina, we have 100 sheriffs. And there are so many things that you all do. I was a former legislator, state legislator in Raleigh. We had law enforcement come down and lobby us on various issues that are unique to you all and to the interests of law enforcement. I always supported that. Whether the sheriffs and law enforcement maintaining the jails, of course going out and issuing summons and and various complaints. I think I had one or two coming to me years ago. And and also in North Carolina was the first state to have a training program for sheriffs throughout the state, one of the top training programs in the country. And in light of, and they also have a scholarship program for those students who want to attend college and go into criminal justice, et cetera. And I think this is the appropriate place for you all to come here today. Considering the racial divide and the conflict of law enforcement, let me just say this and be real clear. We here at the Civil Rights Museum support law enforcement, whether it's the sheriff, whether it's the police, and we support what they do. And our motto here is that we believe in law and justice. We believe that in order to have law and order, you have to have law and justice. And when you have law and justice, you're gonna have law and order. And I also would suggest and would ask you to consider having one of your trainings or implement racial sensitivity training and perhaps have it here at the Civil Rights Museum for the law enforcement officers throughout the state. Again, I want to thank you all for coming this afternoon or this morning. And I'm going to bring up our mayor, Mayor Nancy Vaughan. She's one of the best mayors in the country, well, in the state. and she's highly respected here. She works with Brian James and other law enforcement here in the area, in the county and the city of Greensboro. So without further ado, again, thank you all for coming. Without further ado, I'm going to bring up our Madam Mayor Nancy Vaughan.
Thank you, Earl, and I want to thank the Chief for asking me to come this morning and bring greetings on behalf of the City of Greensboro. I am joined by our City Manager, David Parrish, and our Assistant City Manager, Trey Davis. It is my pleasure to be here this morning and say greetings on behalf of the City of Greensboro in this absolutely beautiful building. And I want to say thank you to each and every one of you. I know that you've had a particularly difficult year. Policing or sheriffing, that's a hard job every single day, all the time. But this last year, I know that you've had special challenges based on the pandemic and civil unrest, and I can't imagine a more difficult job. And from the bottom of my heart, I want to say thank you. I want to say thank you every single day that you go to work, because I know that you go to work with the very best intentions. We are so pleased about this building and the actions that went on here 61 years ago. When we talk about great things that happened in the city of Greensboro, this is the iconic structure that people think about. This really changed the civil rights movement for the United States when 4 young men sat down so other people could stand up. You know, this is a moment in time that I am really, really proud about. When we talk about peaceful protests, this was a peaceful protest, and I hope helped define the city of Greensboro. So I say thank you to Earl and to Skip Alston for having the foresight to save this building and not, you know, have it torn down for another typical building, but actually to save it, to keep that message alive, because it is so important about peaceful protests and that we can come together and that we can actually change history. So I hope you enjoy your time here in this building. And I hope that we can use the message here and this as an icon for a takeaway of everything that is happening today. So it is my pleasure to welcome you on behalf of the City of Greensboro and to say thank you. Thank you for everything that you do every day.
Several months ago, I basically was realizing the significance of the time that we in the state of North Carolina are in terms of law enforcement. And I really got to looking around and realized that the chiefs and sheriffs of the 6 largest cities in the state and counties in the state are all African American. In addition to that, I realized that we had some other sheriffs across the state and chiefs that were serving as well that are African American. But we also have the colonel of our highway patrol, and I think most significantly, the first ever African American female sheriff to be elected in our state. And there's a lot of things that North Carolina is known for. Being a part of oppressing African Americans in the early 50s and 60s is one of them. And I think that it is also significant to realize that it is that same state that saw the wisdom and had the confidence and belief in African American leadership at this time, to the point that we were not only appointed as chiefs into these positions, but also elected as sheriffs. And so to me, to mark the advancement and progressiveness of our beloved state as it pertains to putting executives in the law enforcement position, I thought was significant and worth recognizing.